Hello, my budding psychologists. How are you? Fine? We are talking about the different aspects of psychology. I tell you that, psychology is a science. And if the basic concepts are clear to you, then you will find that it is a very, very interesting and a subject which is applicable to the life of the individuals. You can improve upon the life of the others. You can do yourself, that's fine. But we can improve the life of the other, their adjustment, their learning problem, their mental health problems, lot of these which are nowadays. So, you are, studying the psychology. I appreciate it and give you full credit for that. And we are trying our best to give you the concept clarity. Now, in this lecture, I will talk about the laws of perceptual organization. What is organization? Putting things in together, organized way, not in a scattered way. Now, my 5 fingers, now I scattered. Now, say these are organized. You say, if I am making wrist, it is organized. Our different hands are independent. So, how we are making perceptual organization, the stimulus which are coming to us, how we are organizing those things is actually the laws of the perceptual organization. Now, in this chapter, what we will talk about? We will talk about what is perception. Number 2, we will talk about the major approaches or theories of perception, because today video is only on the perceptual organization. So, I will pick only the approach out of the 6 theories which are related with the perceptual organization. Otherwise, one theory will take more than 1 hour and that is not the topic at the moment. Then we will talk about Gestalt approach, which will be one of the approaches, and then I will come to the principles of perceptual organization. What are those principles? What is perception? Perception is a very important mental process. In general, it can be said that perception is the interpretation of the meanings of the sensations. Whatever sensation you are getting, when you give a meaning to that sensation, that becomes your perception. You are eating barfi, you are eating rasgulla. Now, the sensation is there, you say it is very sweet. You are eating, salt, you say it is salty, chili. It is, very pain, very miserable experience like that. Somebody pricks you hand, cruelly, you say I am feeling pain. If somebody is, gently, you say I am feeling smoothness, I am feeling relaxed. So, what meaning I am giving to that sensation is my perception. Clear? Now, Atkinson, he has written a book. Actually, there Atkinson and Hilgard, they have written a book on the general psychology. So, I have picked one definition from that. Atkinson and Hilgard, the book is Introduction to Psychology. It came in 1983. And this definition is given on the page number 133. Now, they define perception as perception is the process by which we organize and interpret patterns of the stimuli in the environment. I am repeating, perception is the process by which we organize and interpret patterns of the stimuli in the environment. Whatever the stimuli are there, whether visual, auditory, olfactory, gustatory, textual, whatever the stimuli are there which are present in your environment, when you are perceiving them, giving them the meaning, it becomes the perception. If you see, it is the same which I explained you earlier, but since it is given by the author, so we are quoting here Hilgard, Atkinson and Hilgard. Now, what are the major approaches or the theories of perception? What are the different approaches? Theories means what are the different perspectives which explain the process of perception. In any subject, to explain a concept, there is not only one approach, there are so many approaches. Similarly, in psychology, when we explain how perception occurs, why I am giving meaning to that sensation, we have different approaches, and there are 6 approaches in all. The first approach is called physiological approach, the second, which was given as Hebb. The second is Gibson's direct theory of perceptual and ecological perspective. So, Gibson's approach actually is a ecological environmental perspective. Third is information processing approach. How we perceive how the information is processed in the body, that approach is called as the information processing approach. The fourth is the Gestalt approach. We will talk about that. The fifth is the behavioristic approach. Behavioristic, you know, a stimulus response, reward, all the things are we are getting from the environment, no basic instinct, I can learn something, and why not I can unlearn something. And the sixth is the, you know very well, artificial intelligence approach. What we are talking about here is the artificial intelligence. Clear? So, these 6 approaches are explaining the process of the perceptual organization. But when we are, the topic of today is laws of perceptual organization. The laws of perceptual organization are explained by the Gestalt psychologists. Now, who are Gestalt psychologists? What is the meaning of Gestalt? What they say? What the things come in that we will talk about first. You know, there are, you know, different perspectives of psychology. I will talk about in another video that what are the different perspectives. There is psychodynamic approach. We say Sigmund Freud is there, Jung is there. We say behaviorists. Then there is a Watson is there, Skinner is there. Then we say humanistic approach. There is a Maslow is there, Carl Rogers is there, which are explaining the behavior different perspective. Similarly, we have the Gestalt approach, and the approach this was given by the German psychologists Wertheimer, Kohler and Kofka. These are the 3 persons which are propounded, which are the father of Gestalt approach. Now, what is the meaning of Gestalt? The meaning of Gestalt is whole, complete, wholeness, complete. You see, if you come to the offline class, when a teacher is teaching in the class, he is not looking at one student constantly. His eyes are moving here and there, right, left, front, back. Now, the class is his Gestalt. On the basis of this Gestalt, Kohler, Kofka, Wertheimer gave a theory of learning, and that theory is known as the learning by insight. We have different theories of learning: trial and error given by Thorndike, classical given by Pavlov, instrumental given by Skinner, and then learning theory by insight, that is given by the Kohler and Kofka. I am explaining the meaning of Gestalt. What Kohler Kofka did? They took a chimpanzee, and the name of that chimpanzee was Sultan. The name of Sultan was not a psychologist. It is the name of the chimpanzee. As we know, we put the different names of the pets we have in the house. You have a dog in the house, we say it is a Cookie, it is a Ruby, or it is a Dabbu, it is a Babbu. You give the different names. Similarly, they gave name Sultan to that chimpanzee. You know, banana, chimpanzee is a vegetarian, is not a carnivorous animal. Now, banana is the pet food of the monkeys, chimpanzee. That was put at a very far distance, and chimpanzee tried to reach to, he was in a cage, can't come out. He tried to took the banana, but his hands couldn't reach to the banana. So, he's just sitting silently in the cage. Then he started the, you know, if you look at the Sultan, chimpanzee, he looks here and there like that. His eyes move at there and the whole complete. 2 sticks were lying outside the cage. He saw that cage, took rods and started playing with those. Now, they were of the such nature that they could be united together. For example, I have the pen with me. I have this pen with me. If I start playing with this pen, a time will come when this pen will come in the cap. Clear? Now, when a pen is, this is this length. When I am putting this cap, now length is increased. Okay. Similarly, that wooden rods, the chimpanzee started playing, and you know, when he saw they joined together, a insight and idea came to his mind. No, now I have a rod. With rod, I can pull the banana. So he, with that rod, he pulled the banana and ate. This is Gestalt psychology. So if he couldn't see the rods, this problem could not have been solved. So Gestalt approach means the wholeness, the completeness. Now, when you come to the perception, now Gestalt psychologists, this approach explained 4 phenomena. One is figure ground perception, The second is principle of perceptual organization. Number third is principle of isomorphism, and fourth is field forces. Now, I just tell you only one, then come to the perceptual organization. Otherwise, whole time will be consumed in explaining all the 4 points. Figure and the ground. What is figure and the ground? If you see a figure, you have a copy notebook. In that notebook, sometime we have a pic of Maharana Pratap. Okay. Now, why in that book you are able to perceive the Maharana Pratap, why not the background? The Maharana Pratap's pic is the figure, and the sides color, the circle in which it is, that is the ground. The line separates the figure and the ground is called contour. C-O-N-T-O-U-R, that is called contour. That contours separate that figure and the ground. If I am not perceiving the whole figure, the whole circle, I would not be able to segregate that, separate the Maharana Pratap's pic from that ground. So, this phenomenon is called figure and the ground. Similarly, second comes the principle of perceptual organization. When the different stimuli are put before us, we organize them and give them a meaning and perceive them as a together. This is the principles of organization. Now, what are those? What are the different principles of organization? We will talk about, and I will explain with the help of the examples, which as I did when I was talking about illusions, so that the concept may be clear to you. Now, principles of perceptual organization, what is that? According to Gestalt psychologist, an organization is found in the perception. Until there is an organization, we can't think together. So, according to Gestalt psychologist, an organization is found in the perception. When a person perceives something, he organizes that stimuli into a pattern. We form then into a pattern. You might have seen a rail, the rail use bogies, when that train is running on the rail track and we are standing on the railway station, it appears that there is only one bogie. Because of that movement, we perceive them as organized, and the partition, the separation where they are linked together is not perceived. We are perceiving that and when bogie is running. So, when a person perceives something, he organizes that stimulus into a pattern. Looking at somebody, we comment that she is beautiful or he is handsome. How you can say he is beautiful or handsome? Until you perceive that person as a whole. Only eyes can't tell he is beautiful, nose can't tell he is beautiful or handsome. When you are looking to the whole, his figure, whole body, then we can say he is handsome or he is beautiful or handsome or average. Person has organized stimuli and gave it to the meaning. He has organized the body and gave the meaning. The word Gestalt means whole. I have explained to you. There are certain rules. Are principles of perceptual organization. Now, what are those rules? Are the principles by which we perceive the things as a organized one. Now, the principles of perceptual organization can be divided into two categories. There are two parts. One is peripheral principle and the second the central principle. Peripheral principles means these principles are related with the quality of the stimulus, and the central principles, these principles are related with the person. In the psychology, there is a stimulus. In the very first lecture I might talked about, then person perceives it and gives it a meaning. So, what I am perceiving is stimulus. Now, that stimulus point factor is the peripheral principle. Now, what is inside me? What is related with me? My needs, my motives, my meaning. The figure is same. But my perception, depending on my need, will make the different interpretation. I will give you example later on. That is called central principle. Now, first I will talk about the peripheral principles, which are related with the value of the stimulus. Now, peripheral principles, first one. Principles of proximity or nearness. Now, you see, which I have written, objects are often grouped according to the distance which separates them from each other. Number 2, the objects are there separated by a small distance. Objects close together tend to seen as a group. Number 3, when several groupings are possible, that one will tend to be favored will made average distance among the members of the group a small are possible. If you look at a given picture, because of the nearness of the circle, you are perceiving as a column. You know, if the stimuli are placed together at a very small distance, closeness, nearness, then that are perceived as a whole, that is perceived as a whole. Now, these circles I have made with the small distances, you know, 1, 2, 3. Now, if you see, we are saying these are columns, and you know, horizontal and vertical, you can very well count it, rows and columns. Now, I give you example. You might have seen students standing in a row in your school when you are school student at the time of prayer. If the students are standing at a very large distance, one is there, the second is, you know, with the distance of the 100 feet, third is 100 feet, then that is not perceived as a line, they are perceived as standing separately. But if the students are one, then 4 centimeter, 4 inch second, then the third and the fourth, as I gave you the example of the railway coach. Now, then they are organized as a whole, and we say it is a line. And if they are standing at a distance apart, much distance apart, then we are not perceiving as a line, we are standing, students are standing with a distance. So, if there is a proximity or nearness in the stimuli, they will be perceived as a whole. The second is principle of the similarity. The stimuli are similar in nature, are perceived as a organized form. The darkened circles and the white circles are perceived as columns. You see, the stimuli which are presented before you, if there is a similarity between them, then that will be perceived as a whole. And if there is not similarity, then they will not be perceived as a whole, they will be perceived as differently. Now, if you see the first, they are not darkened, we are perceiving as a one column. Now, they are darkened, they are perceived as separate, then separate, then separate. If there is a similarity, then there will be organization. If there is a not similarity, there will be no organization, and they will be perceived as a different groups. Let me give you an example. You know, we have two communities before us. One is Sikh community and there is the Hindu community. You know, in the Sikh religion, they put a turban on their heads, and turban is a very valuable, respectable, and we respect that turban, we salute that turban. Even when you go to the Gurdwaras, when you are reading Granth Sahib, if you are not a Sikh, you are Hindu, you cover your head with a handkerchief, because they don't go with the naked head. Now, there is one line in which 56 students are standing, and there is one line in which 50 students are standing without turban. Now, that turban gives similarity. You will say this is a line of the Sikh students and this is a line of the Hindu students. Now, if this is line, 5 students with the turban, 2 students without turban, 1 student with turban, then 2 students without turban, you can't organize them in the form of a community because they are not similar. So, if you know the things are, they have similarity, then they perceived as a group, and if there is a difference, they are not perceived as a group. You might go to the sweet shop. I can give you 1,000 of examples. You go to the sweet shop, you might have observed all the qualities of barfi, plain barfi, chocolate barfi, coconut barfi, they are all know put in a one cage, in a one stand. All the rasgullas in one, rasmalai in one, different type gulab jamuns in one, because when it is a barfi or a barfi, we don't say it is a coconut, we say it is a place where the different type of the barfi is lying. South Indian food, it is a South Indian stall, because there is a similarity between the South Indian food. So, the second principle says when there is a similarity in the stimuli, they are perceived as a whole. When there is a no similarity, they are perceived as a segregated separately. The third principle is principle of symmetry. Symmetry. According to this principle, if there is a symmetry in the perceived stimulus, then organized figure is perceived. This principle is also called principle of good figure. When I say symmetry, I mean right and the left. Whether there is a difference between the right hand side picture and the left hand side stimulus. If there is a symmetry, they are same, then they are organized and perceived as a symmetrical figure. You see the first figure, you look at the first figure. Now, in the first figure, there is an absolute symmetry. So, we are perceiving as a one. Now, it is an ambiguous picture. We can perceive anything. We can say they are, two persons are standing. If you look at the second picture, there is a no symmetry. Now, this side is curved inside and it is a bulged. It is a bulged. If it is a bulged and it is on the inside, you will not perceive as a whole. You may perceive as two different things. You say it is the, I say, it is the part of the woman, it is his neck, and it is the hair part. Hair part, the where the they put the hairs together. Why I am perceiving differently? Because there is a no symmetry. If you might have studied personality, or in future you will talk about, there is a very important test, Rorschach ink blot test. In the Rorschach ink blot test, there are ink blots, and those ink blots are bilaterally symmetrical. That means what the central line, whatever is in the right hand side, the same ditto 100% will be on the left hand side. If there is a symmetry, clear, then you see they will be perceived as a organized, as a figure, and if there is a no symmetry, then they will be perceived as a different picture. Then principle of good continuity. Good continuity. Now, what is this? According to this rule, those stimuli as part of the stimuli which are in the same direction are perceived as a specific pattern. Now, if the movement is on the same side, you see here the movement is on the same side, clockwise. If it is a clockwise, you are seeing continuity, organization. If some are clockwise, some are anti-clockwise, then you will not perceive this circle as a whole. So, this principle is called principle of good continuation, perceived as a spiral binding. You see in your copies, in the spiral binding, all bindings are put, holes are there, small distance, similarity clear, and continuity. It is not some is in from this side and from that side. So, that is perceived as a whole. You see principle of good continuation. You see at a flock of deers running in the same direction. If 10 deers, 10 deers are running in the same direction with the same speed, they are appearing as a one line. They are not perceived as a separate deers because they are running on the same side. If 3 are running on the north, 3 are outside the south, 4 here and there, then they will be not perceived as a group. They will be perceived as a separate deers. One is running on the front side and one is running on the backward side. But if there is a continuity, the rail is there, continuity, then will be perceived as a one. Then principles of closure. According to this principle, if the parts of a stimulus are linked close, they are perceived as a pattern. Now, this is a they are the close. It will be perceived as a circle. Now, triangle, if you put triangle, there is a gaps, it is perceived as a triangle. But if you put triangles, the other figures, it may be perceived as other. You look at here. Now, if you look from this side, I will try to point at this pen. Now, it is a one triangle and this is an other triangle. Look at the figure 1, 2, 3rd, because these lines are close together and these lines are again close together. So, if there is a closeness, they will be perceived as a one object. So, these are the peripheral principles of the perceptual organization. Now comes to the principles which are said the central, the principles which are related with the person himself. The first is the principle of meaning. What meaning you are giving? What meaning you are giving to that stimulus? that will make your perception, that will make your organization. The principle of meaning, the words which carry meanings are perceived as definite pattern in organized form. You know, the question is what meaning you are giving to them. Now, if the words which carry meaning are perceived as a definite pattern, if you are perceiving these words as a definite pattern, then they will be organized and you will put the meaning. Look at the words written on the right hand side. I have written THEKING, WENT, TOPALCE. This is one line. Words are combined together. Now, if I give the meaning, I say the king went to palace. So, I have giving a meaning to this line, the king, the THEKING, king, WENT, went, TO to palace. So, I am giving the meaning to this because I have made meaning of this line. If I make no meaning at all, I will say these are the absurd word. This is an absurd word. But if you give the meaning, then you will be perceived as a whole. You will be able to meaning. This depends on person to person. Clear? Stimuli is the same for all, but it is depend from the person to person. The second, is your motivation, your needs. You see, whatever the needs you have, your perception is governed by that need. I play cricket with my son in the evening, my grandson in the evening. Someday, he is not able to locate the ball, cricket ball in the house. I say, beta, you go inside and bring the ball, then we will do the practice. I am busy in the evening today, so we will not do the batting, we will do only practice of the catching. So he says, Papa, I am not able to find the ball. What to do? My practice of today has gone. I say, beta, don't worry, open the fridge, bring one apple. For catch, I need only one round object, I can't take the stone because you have missed the catch, that will hurt me. You bring the apple and we will do the practice of the catch. Try to understand. We will make the practice of the catch. Now, after doing my duty from the university, I go to my home. My wife is working, she is not at home. I don't know anything to cook and I am feeling hungry. Now, I open the fridge, what to eat? There is no bread and butter. So, that is finished. Now, I see there is apples are lying in the fridge. I opened the fridge and took an apple and eat that apple and satisfy my hunger. Try what I want to say. When my need was, when my motivation was to play, I perceived apple as a ball, and when my need was hunger, my motivation was hunger, I perceived as a apple as a eatable object. So, apple is the same. I am organizing that apple in different contexts depending upon my need and my motivation. So, this is again personal. Clear? Again, looking to a lady, we say it is a mother. Some say it is a bhabhi. Some say it is a wife. And some say it is the lady whom I love. The lady is the same, but different meanings I am giving to that stimuli, that depends upon person to person. Clear? So, these are the rules which are related with the person, and stimuli rules are there which are related with the. So, if I sum up, I say the rules which were related with the stimuli, the peripheral, they were objective, and rules with principles which are related to the persons are subjective. Because objective is equal for all, nearness is equal for all, but this perception of apple will be different for all. You look at the cloud. Cloud has no shape, ambiguous. You ask people to interpret that cloud, you will organize the different patches, you see different responses will come. Why? Because that has no shape. Whatever need, whatever you in the mind, you will organize that cloud, patch of cloud into a pattern. So, in this way, we organize the stimuli, and these are called principles of perceptual organization. Thank you very much.